And Maliba mentioned something interesting, that the president still has time to course correct. This is what the president said out in Western region.
Kelele hii wanasumbua, wanapiga makelele, sijui mitandao wapi. Hawa watu wako na kazi ngumu sana. Kushindana na mimi, wako na kazi ngumu. Si mambo yao ni kuchora tu kwa internet na kuzunguka na fitina. Hawa tutawanyorosha asubuhi na mapema. Sasa mimi nataka niwaambie wala wanasema tumeanza siasa. Waacheni kuhara mapema. Siasa bado. Ama namna gani? Sasa munasema hii. Na siku tukianza siasa yenyewe si mutakimbia.
NJERI, does the president have enough time to course correct and win in 2027 after the assessment that you just gave?
Trevor, you know, my good friend here said that the government has done a lot. You know, you can do a lot, but a lot of nothing. I believe Kenya Kwanza has a listening problem. The Kenyan people are speaking. The young people of this nation, when they write or vent their anger on social media platforms, there's a message they're communicating to this government. I recall a very unfortunate event in the last year during the finance bill, you know, the advent and, you know, the upheaval and uprising from the young people. And I recall we had that conversation, and I was of the opinion that we were not communicating properly to the Kenyan people, and we were not listening and taking their feedback. I did 4 meetings in KIRINYAGA County. Minimum number was around 3,000 people, and they all resoundingly told me that they did not want me to pass that finance bill. Majority of them at the grassroots did not even know or want to know what is contained in that finance bill. So you can tell there's such a huge disconnect. And when I hear the president saying that, you know, wanapiga kelele kwa social media, I'm very concerned in regard to whether he actually wants or will listen to Kenyans, because that is the only way he's able to turn around whatever is happening. If he has a genuine conversation on the implementation of the policies and the legislations that we're passing on the floor of parliament. I was in Embu when the president was booed, you know, and he spoke about SHA, and he spoke about the housing program, affordable housing program. And that is when, you know, our people are very calm. They're very restrained, you know. But the time they're actually booing a sitting president, it tells you that there's such a huge disconnect in regard to how we're communicating, what we're implementing. So for me, I think, I feel that if that is the way he's responding to genuine concerns from Kenyans, then perhaps we have, or rather, the government has completely lost traction, like I had said. And it's good that Maliba acknowledges that he has quite several advisors. And we all really question whether they do tell him the truth. But what I believe is we can no longer caution the president from a direct interaction with Kenyans. I mean, he's on the ground every day. He's in Western, he's in Central Kenya, he's in Nyanza region. He does go to the voters. He hears what they say, but is he willing to listen to what they are saying? And that is a big question to the president and to the government of Kenya Kwanza. Yeah,
and now he says that in 2027 tutawanyorosha. In fact, should that even be a conversation people should be having now, campaigns for 2027? On one hand, he says tutawanyorosha, on the other hand, he says that I'm not even campaigning. We haven't started yet.
Anyone else can have it, you know, Trevor. The former Deputy President, GACHAGUA, can have that conversation. He has no mandate to deliver to the Kenyan people, but the president cannot have it because he has a mandate to deliver to the Kenyan people. So being preoccupied with the, you know, micro conversation and 2027 politics is quite worrying to me, because he is not just like any, you know, the Kalonzos and the other leaders. He has a mandate. He has a contract with the Kenyan people, and the contract is 5 years. And the Kenyan people will review that contract after 5 years. So it's unfortunate if he is actually preoccupied with 2027. But I mean, it is Kenya, and that is just campaign rhetoric, which I think has happened before. So it is something that can pass.
All right. Buluma, you said that we should tell truth to power. power says that they are in a good state. In fact, he says in 2027, tawanyorosha asubuhi na mapema, hata sijaanza campaign. What would you tell power right now? What is the truth?
The truth is that even Citizen is not getting it. It's not online rage, it's a Kenyan rage. Kenyans are still feeling more frustrated than they have ever been. And people are making assumptions that this is just an online thing, you know, that it will not metamorphosize into something bigger. But I want you to understand one thing, Trevor. Our country witnessed one of the lowest moments last year when the Gen Z's protest escalated to a level where they decided to occupy Parliament. I work with young members of Parliament, including NJERI here. Last year, we were very privileged to host the President of the Republic of Kenya during the launch of our strategic plan. I have every reason to support this government and support whatever policies they propagate. But I also have a bigger, higher responsibility to speak reality. And reality is compounded on what the pulse of the country is feeling. I will tell you, Trevor, I feel like even the language the political class, particularly those in government, are using is not in tandem with the feeling of the people. People feel like they're talking down at them, you know? It's like, Trevor, umekula umeshiba sasa unatutapikia. That is the attitude out here. And it fairly feels like they misunderstood what everyone perceives as was a protest by Gen Zs, whereas I would interpret it to be a cause that was temporarily suspended, but they never achieved their intentions. These people were very clear, and I'm happy Mheshimiwa has mentioned that she was able to actually see through the politics and hear and listen to what Kenyans were saying during the finance bill debate. Because it's not like Kenyans were entirely against everything government is doing, but they just feel like, is government even paying attention to what you're telling them? You know, that is the fundamental question that this country is not addressing. Every other day, there are promises made, but never kept. You know, Trevor, we are almost in the equivalent of what the presidency should be a monarch, you know? A monarch in the sense that the pronouncement by the president should almost have some level of finality. A promise given by the president should actually hold weight. But I can tell you, Trevor, Kenyans are losing faith, even in the words the president is saying, including his assertion that hawa tutawanyorosha asubuhi na mapema. Ni Kenya watanyorosha. Because I've told you, my context is, we have a situation where the government is defending its position, but the real opposition is no longer the political class. It is the Kenyan people. Have you seen a situation where, in the history of this country, people in a church setup, when you just excite them kidogo, wanaanza kusema, RUTO must go? Have you seen a situation where people in a university setup, it's a graduation, people should be celebrating, but the only thing they find normal is to say RUTO must go? Has that ever happened in the history of our country? And you want to tell me that tutawanyorosha bado asubuhi na mapema? I feel like our president needs to climb down, come back to where he left Kenyans. Where he left Kenyans, they had aspirations, they had hope. They believed in his promises. They believed that it's possible for a hustler to become a dynasty, you know? But he's left them at the point of hustlers. And I feel like we need to actually be speaking a lot of this truth, because Kenyans are also very impatient today than ever before. They've been very patient people. They give their taxes faithfully. They honor. And I can tell you, even the Gen Z protest, the suspension, was because the people of this country love their country more. That's why at some point, when they felt like we are getting off the brink, they paused a bit just to see whether the country could come back to order. But what are we dealing with? Kiburi, Trevor. Kiburi, people like Farah Maalim, you know, using some vulgar language, you know, on live television and telling Kenyans, we don't care what you say. It's our way or the highway. I mean, we've never stooped that low. And I honestly feel like we either correct or we will be corrected as a leader. I would say, finally, that as a country, we need to actually revisit our understanding of leadership. Because if our understanding is when you acquire an office, then you amass the power in that office, then the most you do is, step on everybody who's on your way. I think that is the wrong understanding of leadership. We need to start demystifying. Are we serving or are we being served? Because the attitude that is there today, it is like Kenyans are living at the pleasure of leaders, not the other way. It is the leaders who are supposed to live at the pleasure of Kenyans. But what they are showing and showcasing is nyinyi wa Kenya ni either muishi kwa masharti yetu ama tutawapanga. Ile kupanga has really been turned around. Ile kupanga ya presidency. It is no longer about tutapanga tujenge taifa. Tutapanga tutatenga na tuwatenge. That is the kind of language we are having in this country. I really have a lot of hope, like Arnold has said, and I really want this government to work because, Trevor, like I told you, I've lived in both worlds. I was in Azimio, then I was persuaded by some good friends to get to Kenya Kwanza. When I got to Kenya Kwanza, one of the most exciting moments was when we were going around doing, like the people's dialogue. And I would really admire sessions where the president would interject a conversation between him and the people just to get clarity of what is it that the people are saying. We are no longer doing that. We are talking from the sunroofs, talking to Kenyans, tukiwasomea, tukiwapanga, tukiwaambia sasa, just hold on. This is the reality.
Yeah.
We are no longer having a conversation with Kenyans. Okay. We are only talking to Kenyans. And I feel like that's where this government has lost it. Kenyans love this country. And they will do everything possible to make Kenya great. But not with the kind of condition that we are providing today.